So today I'd like to talk about fire rate. In the last video, I examined move speed, and we absolutely busted move speed with Paradox. But today, I think I can surprise you again with just how crazy fire rate is in Deadlock. In order to do this, we're going to need to look at a couple different candidates. But first, let's talk about fire rate in general. Unlike move speed, fire rate is more nuanced because it is tied to your DPS, but also it's easier to achieve than move speed. So if we look at our heroes, we'll see we have a bullets per second indicator right here, and different heroes have different bullets per second at the beginning of the game. Abrams is one of the slower ones. He has a very slow firing revolver shotgun. Bebop is one of the higher DPS heroes, not DPS, bullets per second hero at 12.5. The three heroes we're going to examine the most closely. We'll start with Bebop, but we're going to look at Ivy, who has the highest base bullets per second in the game, and most interestingly, she has Watcher's Covenant, which gives her 20% fire rate at the tier 1 upgrade, and it scales with spirit power. So scaling with spirit power, if you'll remember from our move speed video, is really important for getting higher stats. So we're really interested in Ivy. We're also going to look at Vindicta, who, although she has a low bullets per second at the beginning of the game, she gets this spirit scaling, actually, a 0.006 spirit scale. So not very much, but what's interesting is, as I understand it, this spirit power is actually going to increase our base bullets per second. And then any fire rate bonuses that we accrue on top of that base will be extremely increased by having a higher base. So having the spirit power scale here might actually prove to be more effective than stacking percentage fire rate increases. We'll have to find out. Additionally, Warden has fire rate bonus from spirit power at 0.012, so that's a better scaler than Vindicta. However, he starts at 4 bullets per second, so that's 0.55 lower base than Vindicta. So we'll have to see. There are other characters that you might be interested in. There are characters like Wraith, of course, who is all about having a very high fire rate gun, although it's only 11.1 bullets per second, which might surprise you considering you have Bebop, who is a higher fire rate than her. You also have Hayes, you have McGinnis. These are all good characters to try fire rate out on, but we're going to look at Bebop first, then Vindicta, then Ivy, and finally Warden. So Bebop and McGinnis fire at 12.5 bullets per second at base, okay? So let's start with one of them. Let's start with Bebop, just because he doesn't have the spin-up time like McGinnis has on her minigun. He also has a nice 66 ammo, so, you know, he'll do just fine. So in order to achieve the fire rate we're looking for, we're going to need to type in fire rate, of course, up here. And we're going to be selective with what we have here. Keep in mind, some of these are fire rate slow items, and we don't actually want those. So we can disregard things like Mystic Slow, Withering Whip, Suppressor. Those things aren't relevant to us. And we're going to start down here at the bottom, because these, of course, are the higher tier items, and they're going to have higher bonuses. Let's start with our actives as well. So as you can see, there are actually only 3 weapon actives in total here that increase our fire rate. And we're going to take all 3 of them because they increase them by a lot. Vampiric Burst, when we activate it, is going to give us 40% fire rate.
Have fun out there, Bebop.
Shadow Weave, when we come out of our invisibility, will give us a 30% ambush fire rate for 8 seconds. And Heroic Aura will give us 25% fire rate for 6 seconds.
Well, someone's looking to make a statement.
We have one more active, and we're going to take Metal Skin, which we won't have to actually activate because we just want the passive on it, which is the 8% fire rate right there. Okay. And let's actually unlock our flex slots and turn off no cooldown just so we can demonstrate this in quick succession.
These are dangerous times.
Back to fire rate.
You don't want to be unprepared.
We're going to take Spiritual Overflow so that once we've shot a few shots into our target, we will get a 35% fire rate bonus after building up the Spiritual Overflow effect. We're
Your
going to grab that.
abilities are about to go to the next level.
We aren't going to take Ricochet. It's only 10%. We're not going to take Glass Cannon. That's only 10%. We want Frenzy, which gives us 40% fire rate as long as we're under 50% health. So we'll have to remember to lower our health during these tests.
Have fun
so we'll
out
take
there,
that.
Bebop.
We're going to take Burst Fire, which not only gives us a passive 12% fire rate, but also when one of our bullets, just one, hits an enemy hero, for 4 seconds we get an additional 30% fire rate. So that's huge. We also want Swift Striker, which you probably wouldn't usually want in a real game. I don't know. Maybe you could, because the minus 5% bullet resist, that's pretty bad. But 22% fire rate for a tier 2 item is also pretty good. But 22% fire rate for our tests is going to be great, so we'll take that.
Strong, buddy.
And finally, we have all of these, which give, you know, somewhere between like 5 and 15-ish% fire rate out of all these weapon items. But we actually want Kinetic Dash, which when we dash will give us a 7-second 20% fire rate bonus.
I got one of those
That's
for the missus.
all of our flex
Big fan.
slots and all of our weapon slots done. So let's look at the other items now. We, of course, have Surge of Power. And let's take a look. Bebop does not have any abilities that increases his fire rate. So we're really not worried about which one we use here. We'll go ahead and put it on the hook, because the hook comes out very quickly. So that way we can just, you know, get our bonuses going really quickly. We're also going to take Quicksilver Reload, which gives us 15% fire rate bonus on the use of the imbued ability. Again, I put it on the hook, same as Surge of Power. Surge of Power gives a 10% fire rate bonus, by the way. We're going to take Superior Stamina, which gives us a passive 7% fire rate.
Stay 2 steps ahead of death,
And we're
my
going
friend.
to take Combat Barrier, which while we're shielded with Bullet Shield gives us 6% additional fire rate. Unfortunately, there are no other items that can scale our fire rate. So we have 3 empty slots, a bit of a waste, but that's the best we can do. Of course, we could infinitely break these golden statues for fire rate power-ups, but we're not going to do that because that's a little silly. We also don't need to level up our hero. Our fire rate does not increase. Our bullet does, though. We're going to take the bullet, or not, excuse me, we're going to take the bridge buff for gun that gives us an additional 20% fire rate. And so now, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to lower ourselves to half health, get our kinetic dash going by dash jumping, and then we're going to fire off our hook and simply fire at this target dummy and see what we hit. And our metric that we're aiming for is this number right here. So we can't see what our actual fire rate is. This is our fire rate percentage bonus, which means that we can't, as far as I'm aware, monitor our fire rate, which is a shame, really. We're going to go ahead and half health ourselves a bunch. Dash jump, fire hook, cancel it, press all of our active abilities, except for Metal Skin, we don't need it, and hit 320% fire rate. Respectable. 8,000 damage from that mag dump on the dummy. Pretty good. Bebop, however, I can assure you, is far from the most efficient hero. So let's go ahead and try a different character. Let's actually go to... Let's do Vindicta. She has fire rate scaling with spirit power.
Today isn't the day for mercy.
So once again, we're going to grab all of the same items, right? So we're going to grab the Empiric Burst, Shadow Weave, Spiritual Overflow, Frenzy, Surge of Power. We're going to put it on our 4, and you'll see why in a moment. Metal Skin. We want Heroic Aura, Superior Stamina, Combat Barrier, Quicksilver Reload. Put that on your 4 too, just because it's simple. Burst Fire, Swift Striker. Am I missing anything? Kinetic Dash. There we go. Now we're going to do it a little different because Vindicta gets Spirit Power scaling with her fire rate. So we're going to go over to Spirit here. And the most efficient way, I believe, that we can do this, since we only have 3 slots to work with after maximizing our fire rate directly, is we're going to go ahead and grab Diviner's Kevlar, which of course, when we fire our 4 that both Surge of Power and Quicksilver Reload are already bound to, we're going to get that bonus as well, which is a conditional 40%, or excuse me, plus 40 Spirit Power.
Vindicta,
We're going to grab
it is
Boundless
always a
Spirit,
pleasure to have
which
you
gives us
business.
65 bonus
Late
Spirit
to see
Power,
you.
and of course, both of these items give the plus 16 base Spirit Power from a Tier 4 Spirit item. So that's a lot of Spirit Power already. We have one more item. In my last video, where I was min-maxing move speed and characters that used Spirit Power for move speed, I grabbed Leech, or did I grab Soul Rebirth? Oh, I think I grabbed Leech because it used to have 18 spirit power. I think they removed it in a recent patch, however. But I definitely grabbed a tier 4 green item. And actually, if you want to eke out 2 more spirit power than that build previously used, you grab Enchanter's Barrier, which gives 20 spirit power while you're shielded with Spirit Shield. So I actually missed 2 spirit power. I'm not sure if that would have increased my speed by enough to actually change the result at the end of the video, but that's okay. So keep that in mind. This actually gives you more spirit power than any other item in the green, as far as I'm aware. So that's min-max. Now when we grab our bridge buffs, we're going to wait a second because these aren't what we want. We want these two, gun and casting. So we get the 20% fire rate and an additional 25 spirit power. So that's going to be helpful for us. Now we're going to do pretty much the same thing. We're going to half health ourselves, kinetic dash. We're going to fire an ult into them, and then we're going to hit all of our actives and blow them away. So here we go. Half health. Hit the shot. Activate everything. Hit 366. So not that much different. I think that is a little higher than Bebop. And you can see that's actually really respectable damage. Let's do it one more time. Half health, dash, ult, actives. Really good damage. 11,677 damage from a mag dump there. And we can do one more thing if you're curious to see what this looks like as you progress through the game. Of course, this build is ridiculous. You probably should optimize this better for actual play. This is just min-maxing for fun. So you could definitely change things around in this build to get way better results out of actual play if you're trying to make a giga fire rate build. But let's hit max level, just for the simple fact that we get more bullet damage, right? So, and then let's do everything again. Half health, jump, hit the shot. And with that extra bullet damage from having leveled up, we get way more. That's 18,000 and some change. And of course, that's not including, you know, you would get golden statues that give you weapon damage percent, spirit power, fire rate, all that stuff throughout the game if you're playing an actual game. So you can get higher in an actual game. I just don't want to disrupt the process I have here for testing. So that's awesome. Vindicta, pretty good. Let's go ahead and move on to another hero, though. Next, we're going to try Ivy.
I'll find my purpose again.
Ivy does not scale directly with fire rate. However, her Watcher's Covenant does scale. And you'll see that you get 10% fire rate scaled at times 0.2 spirit power. So for every 5 spirit power we get, we'll get an additional 1% fire rate out of this. And if we level it up, we get a base additional 10% fire rate. So we actually have 20% off base. Okay? And we also had the highest base fire rate in the game on our gun of, I believe, what was it, 14.3? So let's go ahead and get the build online again. Let's go ahead and go Shadow Weave, Vampiric Burst, Spiritual Overflow, Frenzy, Surge of Power. We'll put this in R2. We're going to have to ult, which we'll have to be quick with canceling. Heroic Aura, Metal Skin, Superior Stamina, Combat Barrier, Quicksilver Reload on R2 again. Burst Fire, Swift Strike, Kinetic Dash, and then we do, of course, want Spirit Power, so Diviner's Kevlar, Boundless Spirit, and Enchanter's Barrier. Let's grab our bridge buffs. We want Gun, and we want Casting. Give it to me. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So let's take a look at Ivy. We're going to go ahead and start casting. Half health herself. Press 4 to cancel. And you have to pull down, by the way, for this. That was, what was that, 377? Dear Lord. Let's try that one more time. So,
Let's go for
channel,
a ride.
half health, cancel, actives 2, 377. Yep. And you mag dump with Ivy. Having a higher fire rate, I think, might make her the fastest fire rate in the game. Again, I cannot measure the actual fire rate, only the bonus that she receives, which was 377% on top of whatever her base fire rate is. If we go ahead and hit max level as well,
Might be time
we
to
can
pick
see
up a
what kind of
relic.
damage we get. We'll have to get close as well so we don't get any bullet drop off. But let's go ahead and start channeling.
Ready to fly?
Half health, cancel, actives 2, Oh, I missed the head. One more try, one more try.
I got you.
So actually, Ivy doesn't pump as much damage as other heroes, even at max level. Now, maybe you could optimize this for more damage. Now, don't get me wrong, that was what, like 8,000? So, I mean, somebody's getting melted there, one way or the other. But of course, this isn't indicative of actual play. So, you can min-max this, you don't need that much fire rate, right? And you're mag dumping so fast, like, you'd better be perfectly accurate, or that's not usable. But Ivy, I think, might have the fastest fire rate. She does not, however, get the highest fire rate bonus possible. That honor goes to Warden, of all people.
This isn't about good.
Warden, if you'll remember, scales better with spirit power at base than Vindicta does. So let's go ahead and get his build.
You ever want to
Whoops, put
pawn
that on the
that
wrong one.
cape
There
or
we go.
gun of yours? You let me know.
We're going to put everything on our ult in terms of infusions.
Well, someone's looking to
Missing
make a
anything?
statement.
Kinetic Dash, Spiritual Overflow. There we go. We're going to grab our Diviners, our Boundless, and our Enchantress Barrier. We need our bridge buffs. None of our abilities scale our fire rate with Spirit Power or even give us additional fire rate to begin with. So that's not a concern. Casting, there it is. Let's reload since we increased our magazine size by quite a bit. And then let's go ahead and do it. So we're going to half health, dash, oops, wait, I messed it up. It's okay, we're still half health.
I'll
There
take
we
on
go.
all of you.
418%. It doesn't last for very long. But Warden gets the highest fire rate bonus possible in the game. Let's do that one more time. Half health, channel our ults,
Seconds, it'll all be over.
actives. And by the way, that's a big number. So let's max our level and just see what that looks like in terms of higher bullet damage, okay?
This is my moment.
Let's get the whole setup. Actually, only about 3,000 higher, but still. That's crazy and terrifying, considering that you're also last standing. So if you optimize this a little bit, got rid of some of the lower fire rate bonuses, and, you know, gave him, like, move speed and duration for his last stand, maybe a little more spirit power instead of direct fire rate, so that way it's scaling better with last stand and some of your other items as well. This could melt. I think there's real potential for this one. I think that's everything we can actually cover with fire rate. Again, you can just farm these forever if you wanted to get higher fire rate. And of course, again, with these spirit power scaling heroes, you can also farm the spirit power from golden statues. So in an actual game, if you were to somehow get all of these online, you might have a higher fire rate than what I'm displaying here. Okay, so I decided I was actually going to try and figure out the fire rate. And I'm a college-educated boy, so I gave it a shot. And I immediately noticed that this fire rate number, this fire rate percent bonus, is actually a little more complicated than I thought it would be. I thought it would just be additive and just take all of these items and the exact percentages they display and add it together there, and then use that with your base fire rate, which of course with Vindicta and Warden get modified by spirit power, but that's not the case. And you'll actually notice that if you like pay attention to how the numbers work, with Warden especially. So I think what this number is actually saying is this is the percent increase from what you started with, that starting number. For Vindicta, it's 4.55, and for Warden, it's 4. For Ivy, it's 14.3. And so what I think this means at the end of the day is that while Warden does get the best fire rate bonus, starting from only 4, Ivy, starting at 14.3 and getting up to a 367% increase, probably is worth more. So I did the numbers, and I think that other characters like McGinnis and Bebop are worth investigating. However, I've been on this for a couple days now. But with the 3 characters in question that I was most interested in here, being Ivy, Vindicta, and Warden for their spirit scaling, Warden actually comes out to the slowest fire rate of the 3 at 20.72 bullets per second. And that, I think, is still ridiculously good when you consider that Warden has a very, very high starting bullet damage. Next is Vindicta with 21.203 bullets per second. And that's also really good because, again, Vindicta has an insanely high starting bullet damage. I think it's 15 on Vindicta. And on Warden, I want to say it's like 18 or 19. It's really high. So these characters are meant to be heavy gun characters that shoot slowly and shoot really hard when they do hit. So increasing the fire rate on these heroes actually is insane. And then Ivy, finally, has a 66.781 bullet per second count. And that's pretty crazy, too. Of course, Ivy has a much lower bullet damage. So she, unfortunately, doesn't actually get as insane of a benefit as the others, but she definitely has the highest fire rate in the game. So Warden gets the highest fire rate bonus relative to his start. Ivy gets the highest fire rate end, period.